Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo. We're two of the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thanks for being here and listening. I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, Alex.
Oh, jinx, double jinx, no jinx backs.
How are we going to do a podcast?
I don't know if this was the rule when we were kids, but Emerson says as soon as you say the person's name, they're allowed to talk again. So Kelly, you can speak again.
Thank you so much. That's too funny.
I don't remember how you got out of a jinx when we were kids. Do you?
I think he's correct.
Okay. I didn't remember that part. I just remember locking people up and leaving them locked.
Okay. I do remember, I think you had to buy someone like a Coke or something if you spoke before. So I probably owe you a Coke at this point.
Diet Pepsi will be fine. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. That's funny. I have a story for you.
What's new in your world?
Well, I've been sick for a while, which sucks. And I don't do well with cough syrup. I'm allergic to something in there. I'm assuming the codeine, and it gives me like that hallucinogenic kind of experience. So I avoid it at all costs. However, this cough was so bad. It was like that reflexive one that's just, responding to any little tickle in your throat. So I did it. I took it. And for whatever reason, I got the itch to clean while I was on cough syrup. And this bookshelf behind me, I was like, yeah, now's a good time to dust. And I went for that top shelf, and I decided to stand on that chair, but did not balance my weight properly. So I ended up toppling over and slamming my tailbone on the back of the chair. So that was my week of rest this week: cough syrup and a tailbone injury.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds brutal. So you got high and then injured yourself.
But at least I cleaned.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I just have the craziest dreams whenever I take cough syrup.
Yeah. I end up having like dreams within dreams, which is not fun because you think you're waking up and you're not.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm on the mend.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Thanks. What do you have for us today?
I want to talk about consistency. So what it means to be consistent, how we create consistency, and discipline, and what that looks like for the average person.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because we talk about this a ton, and I really, really, truly believe that for anybody to be successful in a health and fitness journey, the most important factor is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a shitty thing for people to hear, because they don't want to hear that they have to be consistent. They want the magic pill. They want to take the intense route. They want to be able to go into a gym when they're motivated, bust their ass for 2 weeks and come out with the results. Like that's what is hardwired into our brains for us to want, because it's like it's easier, right?
I also want to come to people's defense here and say that it's hardwired into us because it's also what we see in media. Like, how often are you standing in a grocery store lineup where you see magazines that say abs in under 5 minutes?
True.
Right? Like, we're literally taught that things are supposed to come to us very, very quickly.
It's easier too, because motivation comes and goes. And when motivation hits, we've all been there. We're like, I'm ready to crush this journey. Like, I'm going to do meal prep. I'm going to start training 5 days a week. I'm going to walk every night. I'm going to drink 3 liters of water, and I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm ready to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when motivation's there for that first week or two, that's doable, because you're sparked, you're excited, and you're ready to see those results. And you see the first couple quick results. You maybe drop some of that water retention. Like that's pretty easy to do when you're motivated. But when people tell you like, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds, what's the best way to do it? Well, I want you to walk 8,000 steps a day, eat more fruits, vegetables, and protein, and get to the gym 2 or 3 times a week for the next 6 months. Somebody's like, oh shit, that sounds awful. Right?
Yep. Yeah, we're not used to delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not fancy, and it Yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
No, no, it doesn't. Um, and it doesn't need to be fun, but it needs to become a part of your lifestyle rather than always feeling like a chore.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I would agree with that. And like we can talk about this in terms of weight loss. We can also just talk about this in terms of daily habits, right? I have a daily habit of washing my dishes as soon as I'm done eating, because that's the kind of environment I want to live in. It takes maybe 3 minutes after a meal, maybe sometimes it's 30 seconds. And if I put my plate down and I start to walk away, it's just that little reminder of, no, no, this is what I do when I'm done a meal.
Do you get so stressed out being friends with me?
No, no, not at all.
It's
You're
like
right. Go ahead.
I have 37 tabs open on my computer right
No.
now, and I wash my dishes the morning after a meal.
Everyone has their thing, but I just you don't stress me, no. Um, but I'm talking about consistency, right? Like if that's your consistency, that makes sense for you and that just becomes a part of your routine. And when you start to think, well, I should do this, you can brush that away and be like, no, I do that in the morning after, and that's okay. That works for me, right? And I
Mhm.
think what those habits and consistency do for you is they create a sense of ease in your life, because it becomes routine. And those little should statements, they don't weigh on you as much, right? If we know when we do things and how we do things.
The reason I've been thinking about this a lot lately is because we just got our new dog Gary, and he's working with a trainer right now, and she's sending us videos of specific things she's working on with Gary, and how to implement it. Like he has a mat that when she tells him, he has to run back and lay on the mat wherever she locates it, and that's his place when he needs to calm down, or like she needs to get him to follow command, he will go back and lay on it. When she tells him to go in his crate, he has to go in his crate, and when she tells him he can come out, he can come out. And like, none of these things she's doing are really hard,
Mm,
but they're tedious and they require a ton of consistency. And it's made me think a lot about how that connects to the health and fitness journey, because um nothing that we promote, nothing that you need to do to improve your health and fitness is hard.
yeah.
It's 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 not, a lot of it's not going to be exciting or glamorous, you're not going to feel like doing it, but we talk about how discipline is so much more important than motivation, because circling back to the beginning of this conversation, this stuff's easy when you're motivated, it's
Mm,
hard when you're unmotivated. But when we start building that discipline, so building our schedules, routines, and habits, it's not hard. It just has to become part of our lifestyle, or else we're always going to dread it, and we're sooner or later going to fall off if we don't start to build it into it. Getting in a short walk most days, or adding in a workout 3 days a week, or drinking a little bit more water, or eating more protein and vegetables, like none of these things are hard. Anybody could do it. If I said, hey, I'll give you $1 million at the end of the day if you do all this stuff, everybody would do it.
mhm,
So it's not like I'm asking you to complete a task that's really, really challenging. It's just often not the tasks we want to do. But we do this with our life already, right? Like, most of us go to work regularly, whether or not we want to. We clean our houses regularly, whether or not we want to. We feed ourselves something, whether or not we want to. And our kids and our dogs, we feed them whether or not we want to. We do the yard work whether or not we want to. These are things we've created into our routine, and created discipline around. Our health and fitness is the same.
mhm. Yep. Yeah, it's fair. And they are technically simple tasks, like you said. And one of the things we always advocate for is simplicity over complexity. Um, and I'm gonna bring this back to one of my favorite questions, which is why, right? Like, why are we doing what we're doing? And I think when motivation wanes, that is a a really important question to come back to, right? So when I'm getting up and I'm making coffee in the morning, that happens to be something that I do enjoy. If I am, reminding myself, okay, I want to drink a glass of water before I have my coffee, or I should, or I need to, and I think, well, no, I'm not doing that this morning. Okay, well, why? Why am I resisting this? What is difficult about drinking a glass of water before a cup of coffee? Right? Like, what is resisting going to give me? It's going to give me my caffeine kick a little bit faster, but it's throwing me off of my goal. So can I recenter, drink that water, and then enjoy coffee? And I want to interject here that I think a lot of people are in a rush all the time. And we're rushing from one thing to the next, we're rushing from one conversation to the next. Even in our heads, if we're not physically rushing, we're rushing to think about and anticipate the next thing. And so it's like we're constantly wanting to just get things done instead of taking that pause and being like, okay, I don't need to rush to the coffee, it's being made. I can drink the water while I'm waiting, right? And I think just reminding ourselves to slow down, sometimes just mentally slow down. It doesn't even require something different of our physical selves, is a good thing to keep in mind.
Agreed. And circling back to your why, I don't want to dig too deep into goals and that side of things today, but the why is going to change, the goals are going to change, the actions need to change with the why. Because you're like, if I'm training for a Spartan race, then my discipline and my routine will be in line with that. I'll start adding more runs, and my training will change as a result. Once that race is done, I'm not just going to automatically keep the exact same routine. My goal now needs to change, my why needs to change, and I have to reflect on that, or else we're setting ourselves up to fail, because motivation is definitely going to dip if you're trying to hold yourself to a standard of something that's not as important to you anymore.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to fail. So we talk about like setting those setting those bare ass minimums, but just also revisiting your why and your goal, and just slightly adapting. You still have the discipline around your nutrition, your recovery, and your training, but those things within each can start to change.
Mhm.
We just need to maintain the discipline around that so that it becomes a part of our lifestyle. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking back to like just the example of water before coffee. I I want to talk about like people wanting to kind of feel justified in their feelings, right? So, and this throws consistency off. This is where I'm going with this. So, if I'm waiting for my coffee to be made and I'm thinking like, oh, I don't want to drink the water. I just want to enjoy my coffee, right? I can sit there and be like, okay, well, why am I resisting this? Well, it's not as fun. Well, I was really looking forward to my coffee. I can list a number of different reasons why water just doesn't feel like the thing I want to do right now. I'm not thirsty, whatever it might be. Right. And it's like, okay, well, what does resisting this do for me? Um, Nothing. It throws me further away from my goals. I got to cram it in later. So I just want to feel frustrated. I just want to give myself the relief of the coffee. I just want to be right. And it's like that's not helping a situation. I'm trying to fix my feeling to make myself right that coffee is better than water or tastes better than water. And it's like I'm standing alone in the kitchen. Who do I need to be right in front of? Why
Yeah.
can't I just do the thing that's good for me? Right? And I think too, like we can stand there and say to ourselves, yeah, that's true. It's true. Coffee is more fun than water. And I'm going to drink the water before coffee instead of having to just go into an act of defiance, which is what many of us do.
And here's the thing with any new habit is it's harder in the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that. It's easiest in the very beginning when it's a new habit, it's exciting. Once it loses that excitement, it gets to the hardest it will ever be. And then as it becomes part of your lifestyle, it will become easier. And so those days in the beginning when you're like, I like this habit, it makes me feel good, it'll be easy. But prepare yourself for the fact that it's going to get to a point where you're not going to be excited about it anymore, and it's going to be hard, kind of like what Kelly's explaining here, where you don't want to do it. But the more you combat that, and start to just freaking do it, the more it becomes part of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying part of who you are and what you do, because you do start to identify with your habits. We've talked about this before when people say, like, I am a runner, right? And so it's not hard for them to get out the door and run 3 kilometers or 5 kilometers at the, end of their day because they identify as this person who does this thing. And I think it's cool when those habits start to become part of us.
And they do, and that can change again.
Yep.
Because like I've gone through phases in my life where I've stopped drinking the water before the coffee, or as an example, and it's like, why did I let myself stop that?
Mhm.
Because I liked it. It was a good part of who I am and what I wanted to accomplish. Why did I ever let it stop? So that will and can happen. You can revert back to it, obviously, but be prepared for that also. Just because you've ingrained a habit and created discipline around something doesn't mean it's automatically going to stick with you for life. You still have to keep working at these things.
Yep. And
It,
and oh my God, that's true of everything. That's true about our relationships, that's true about our work, you name it.
yeah, it's always going to be work. It's just the longer you do it and the more you force it, the less work it will become.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
um, 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 I need to take notes because I do this all the time. I get that thought and then it leaves me.
You used to. I used to watch you and Jerica write notes during podcasts
Yeah, I know. And I have my notebook right here, but I didn't. Um,
and a pen, just for anyone who's just listening.
yeah, no, I do. I just scribble in this notebook all day, write down things I need to remember, but I was in the zone and I didn't think I would forget it. Um, so that's why we talk about discipline being so much more important than motivation, because as you know, motivation comes and goes, motivation will come and go. Be prepared for it to come and go, but discipline, what we create, can stick with us, and it will get us to our goals. um and that's a really important reminder, because the all or nothing mindset, it always circles back to the all or nothing mindset, is going to be what stops you. It's I most of my training career identified as somebody who loved strength training, and um when life started to get busier for me as a father and with work, it wasn't as exciting for me anymore. It
Mm.
wasn't like when I had a ton of free time, I loved strength training because I was passionate about it. It was exciting. I'd see progress, and I looked forward to that. So that wasn't a frog for me. You hear me talk about eating the frogs, and that wasn't for me back then. But then as life got busy, it became more so that way, and that's okay. That's kind of what I'm talking about. These things are going to change, but because I'd created discipline and structure around that, like strength training will always be a part of my life. And I'll go through phases where I like it more and hate it more. And I love squatting and I hate squatting, and I love deadlifting and I hate deadlifting. It's always going to be a part of my life in some capacity. And it's definitely, there's phases where I'm doing much more of it and I'm enjoying it more. And there's phases where I'm doing less and enjoying it less. But I know that it is a huge part of me living a better quality life and
Mhm.
being able to move better and do the things I want to do. And because of that, I'll ensure that the habits that I work on and the discipline I work on always support that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we get caught up in looking for that magic formula of how to be consistent or how to create discipline. And it's unfortunately it's these day in, day out habits and tasks that we force ourselves to complete until they are our norm. I remember what I was gonna say now. See, I knew it would come back to this.
Okay.
Um, another example as to something you had mentioned earlier, but when we talk about hunger, we like, yeah, I didn't eat well because I was so hungry. Well, if you're truly hungry,
Yep.
you will eat anything. Like if you talk in the most extreme example, if you talk about somebody who's starving, they would eat anything that's presented to them,
Mm.
right? So if we're actually hungry, what's stopping you from eating protein, fruits, and vegetables? Is it the hunger? Probably not.
Mhm.
Not the hunger that's stopping you from eating. That is what your mind is telling you you want and don't want, right? Like it's not that's not an issue of hunger. The same as what's convenient and what's quick. I stopped by McDonald's because I didn't have time. Would it have taken you even a minute longer, do you think, to run into a grocery store and grab a pre-made salad?
Mhm.
Bet you wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? Like we start tricking ourselves into believing things that aren't necessarily true to to feel convenient. But that's a huge part of creating your discipline and your consistency is figuring out how it can work for you. You live a crazy life, you have to stop for fast food often. Find the best option. There are options out there. It doesn't need to be, oh well, I'm having fast food, I might as well make it the worst possible fast food option, all or nothing mindset.
Mhm.
Um, find a way to make it work for you, because there are lots of ways to make it work. There's a lot of people that aren't at home 8 hours a day, that are making their health and fitness an absolute priority through discipline, through consistency.
Yeah. I think one of the other things we haven't talked about yet on this podcast is your bare ass minimums, right? So when consistency is in jeopardy, I'll say, fall back on those bare ass minimums. If you can't get a full workout in, can you get 20 minutes of purposeful movement? If you can't, get a home cooked meal like you just said, can the bare ass minimum be that there is a vegetable and a protein within your meal?
There's so many good fast food options now. Like I say good, you're still gonna do better cooking at home because you can control every variable. But like there's freaking awesome stuff now. You can, like, burritos are my jam. You can get you have less points to work with, less calories to work with, get a burrito bowl, get a salad. You have
Oh,
more, put it on a wrap. Like you can get so much protein and vegetables in one of those. And that's just one example. The options are much better than they used to be.
for sure.
Okay, that's it for me. Anything else you want to add?
No, not in terms of consistency. My tip is going to sound really funny given what we just talked about today.
Okay.
I just wanted to remind people to take a break. We preach a
To not
lot.
be consistent.
No, that's not within that context. Um, it's too funny. I didn't obviously know what topic you were bringing to the table today, but we talk a lot about things that we need to and should do for our health and fitness and for living a healthier, longer life, pardon me. But sometimes we do actually need to be reminded to take a break because we're trying to do all of the things. Just a reminder that we can only do some of the things, and taking a break is productive. Rest is productive. So if you do need that reminder today, this is your permission slip.
Totally. Especially if you've been consistent. If you have been consistent, one day or 1 week of a different rest, or like a vacation, for instance, is only going to have you coming out stronger. Once you've created those habits, discipline, routine, and consistency, that will only make you stronger. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and even just within the context of your day, right? So I'm not necessarily talking about health and fitness either, but to honestly just put your feet up and look out the window or stare at the clouds or just put a piece of music on and take a break, right? Just give yourself a breather in your day. We need those to come back. Like I said, they are productive.
Yeah, yeah, that's an awesome reminder.
Cool.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm gonna ask you to do a favor that I try to remember to ask you. Take a screenshot wherever you're listening, share it to your Instagram story, and tag at Breaking 90 Fitness in it so that we can see you listened, and we can get more listeners on this podcast like you. Thanks for being here.